Absolutely. If he pulls it out this year, he is a Hall of Famer, and I probably wouldn't have said that before this season because the narrative
He's a Hall of
around
Famer.
Matt Stafford is that even with his Super Bowl, the naysayers will say, oh, they loaded a bunch of talent on that team. And when in Detroit, because of the losing, and Matt Stafford was never at the level that Sam Darnold was in the low points of his career because he's also been uber talented. But he's a perfect example of something very similar, of someone who is incredibly talented, but the thousands and thousands of reps have made him a wizard with the football. It makes him understand defensive football better than almost anybody on the field, almost because Sean McVay is there as well. And he has the perfect mixture of talent, which he's been able to sustain at his age, and good, to where, again, you're looking at defenses he's playing against, and he's always a step ahead because he's such a wizard in understanding of the game of football.
I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Me too.
But if he wins this game and then wins the Super Bowl, I think he gets into the conversation for like one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks of all time. And he would accomplish, I think there's only 13 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that have won more than just one Super Bowl. He would have two. So, like, there is a different level in grouping that he gets into if he wins this one and the Super Bowl.
The MVP is a big deal, too. Don't over.
Yeah, I love when people are a little slow to a take because this is what I'd been saying for months and months. And I mean, like, literally all summer and spring and winter. Probably even just last year in general, honestly, last season as well. Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer, and he is an all-time great talent. I don't think you need to win the Super Bowl to prove that if they lose, unless Matthew Stafford just lays an absolute egg, but even then it's just one game. Like, being a Hall of Famer isn't necessarily just accomplishments. It's not how many rings, how many MVPs, how many this. It's how great are you? What is the talent level when we talk about, you're a Hall of Famer, and the accomplishments compared to, are you an all-time special talent? Are you an all-time great? We know it's definitely not just accomplishments because he brought up, only like 13 quarterbacks won 2 or more Super Bowls or, whatever number he gave. Okay, well, like Eli Manning's in that conversation. Okay, Troy Aikman. Trying to think of a couple other random names. And it's not to say that those quarterbacks are bad or not good enough, or especially like in a man, but Matthew Stafford is clearly an elite talent, whether he has 2 Super Bowls or not. Manning easily could have had 1 Super Bowl. Peyton Manning easily could have only had 1 Super Bowl his final year with the Broncos. Let's not pretend like that was Peyton Manning, even in the Super Bowl himself. Let's not pretend like that was Peyton Manning wheeling and dealing. Peyton Manning was 13 for 23, 141 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 56.6 passer rating. Against the Steelers, he was 21 for 37, 222 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 74.4 passer rating. This was his best game of that run, 17 for 32, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 90.1 passer rating. Just so happens that Tom Brady didn't play his best game. He threw the ball 56 times, 27 for 56, 310 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I guess Tom Brady is why they lost. I'm sure a lot of people blame Brady for why they lost. Yeah, defense held them to 18 points. Seems pretty good. Their defense held 18.5 points per game. So the point that I'm just trying to drive home is that win or lose, Matthew Stafford's Hall of Fame credential should not be on the line. And you either think he's an all-time great or you don't. Now again, I understand because this is still his legacy. This is still just the made-up conversations that we have when we say like, oh, he's a top 10, 14 quarterback of all time. And it's like, okay, what does that even mean? Honestly, especially when you're talking about comparing quarterbacks in completely different eras, I think we need to graduate from this notion that we can compare quarterbacks who played like in the 70s and 80s and 90s and compare them to what's happening in 2026. Okay? Like think about it. I know it's like, what we're essentially doing is the equivalent of like growing up when you were watching quarterbacks, when you were watching like Tom Brady, Brett Favre, or John Elbert or something, and you're like, oh, he's better than this quarterback, and it's like black and white footage, and it's like you hear you hear like the film reel, and it's like kind of flashing on the screen, right, and like they're moving kind of like jittery and like kind of like weirdly slow motion, like weirdly sped up. Like that's essentially what we're doing here. When you start to compare quarterbacks that are playing in 2026 to quarterbacks that practically played in like the 1920s. You know, we're just a step away from being closer to comparing those quarterbacks in the 1920s than we are in the 1990s. So it's just like, what does that even mean at this point? It means nothing to me. I'll be honest with you. Just being honest. Especially because the rules have fundamentally changed. Coaching has fundamentally changed. The way how football is played has completely changed. The way how quarterbacking has completely changed. But with all that said, he's clearly an elite special talent, and Stafford would be great no matter the era that he played in, no matter whether he played in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. You can't say that about all these other quarterbacks, necessarily. So, I think Stafford is incredibly gifted. I've gone even farther than what Orlovsky has said, that if he was with McVay earlier in his career, he could be in like the GOAT conversation. Now, again, maybe not as much as like, because Tom Brady has solidified that so much with all his rings, but in the same way that people are doing with Mahomes currently, what they tried to do with Aaron Rodgers for a while between Aaron and Brady, and like that level of conversation. I mean, it's hard to really know, but you know, listen, if Stafford wins another Super Bowl, it's not hard to imagine that if he had McVay and the Rams 10 years ago or whatever, or had another 5, 6, 7 years of his prime with the Rams, that he wins 3 Super Bowls or even 4 Super Bowls, and then it's like, okay, what do we do with that? You know, what do we do with that? Because he's got the stats and the rings, like, so I'm just more forgiving of the situation and the wasted time Stafford spent in Detroit. Win or lose against the Seahawks, or win or lose against the Broncos or the Patriots, that doesn't change for me. That doesn't change for me. So I think either way, he's a Hall of Famer, and either way, he's clearly a top talent of all time. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Matthew Stafford and Los Angeles Rams? What do you think's on the line for Stafford, Hall of Fame, all-time great considerations? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.